Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from the last break of the day today. We've had lots of great, amazing stories, as you know. We've still got a couple more left, and you're going to hold on to your hats to listen to some of these that are about to inspire us as well as the others we've just had. So a great day, as I promised. Just a couple of announcements, please. It's Happy Diwali Day today. So Happy Diwali to all those people that are celebrating. You can celebrate with us here today. We have also left some feedback forms on the tables. So if you could give us some idea, if you fill your feedback forms in if you've got them, please. We haven't got one for everybody because we often find lots that don't get used. So we've just sporadically put some feedback forms on the tables. It's mainly about our Rotary conference, not about the hotel, please. So that's the feedback we'd like. Thank you. Nothing to do about the hotel, even about, we did put a question about the venue. But please, can we make it Rotary specific? Three little other bits and pieces. We're having a Shelter Box collection at the end of the day. We've also got the Million Eye Project. Can we please, I believe Angela has now got an ice bucket so we can hear the, thank you Angela, we can hear the ching going in. I was on my way to put my pound in and I kept getting stopped, but it's here. So there are a few more collections at the end of the day. There was one more little thing that I've forgotten it. Sorry, I might have to come back to that. I can't remember. Okay, so I'd like to welcome Molly back to the stage. Molly, please.
My next guest, Katie Bushell, was a primary school teacher in Liverpool. But her life and the lives of many children were to change after she made a trip to Malawi. Sometimes it takes just one special person to see that need and how it can be resolved. Katie is one of those special people. I will let her tell you her story. Fellow Rotarians, please give a very warm welcome to Katie Bushell.
Thank you very much for inviting me here today. It's an honour and a privilege. And I have to say, I've never ever done a talk where there's not one screen but two. So that's great. It works, yay! Always a technology for you. So, my name is Katie Bushell and I've come today to talk to you about the charity, Malawi Foster Care. Malawi Foster Care is a registered charity and it is run entirely by volunteers, both in the UK and also in Malawi. I've come to tell you the story, in brief, of how it all began and what the Rotary Club involvement is. So, as I said, I'm a primary school teacher in Liverpool and I've always had a bit of a passion for travelling and for teaching. One day, back in 2009, I walked into my staff room and there, on the notice board, something caught my attention. There was a little ad there and it said TIPD, Teachers International Professional Development. And I thought, that looks good. And I looked a bit closer and the advert said, you got to go abroad for 1 week and teach in another country. Only there was a catch. The catch was, you didn't know when you were going to go. It was like a lottery. So I put my name down and thought, this is going to be a good experience. A month before I got to go, I discovered I was going to Malawi. I didn't really know anything about Malawi before. So, it's in the southeast of Africa. It's a landlocked country, landlocked with Zambia, Tanzania and Mozambique. Malawi exports tea, sugar and tobacco, and it's dominated by one very large lake, Lake Malawi. Now, the language that they speak in Malawi is Chichewa, but because it was colonised by the Brits, anyone who's been to school also will speak English, and that's about 10% of the population who've been to secondary school. The currency is the Malawian kwacha, and since 2012, The Malawian kwacha is actually devalued by 49%, but inflation has been above 19%. This makes Malawi quite an expensive country to live, particularly if you're one of 90% of the farmers. Malawian farmers often live hand to mouth. Now, Malawi is a beautiful country, but it also is a really, really poor country. The housing census of 2008 found the population grew from 8.0 million in 1987 to 13.1 million in 2008, representing an increase of 32%. The UN now said in 2016 the population is estimated around 17.5 million. That's a huge increase. 1.7 million of the population don't have access to safe water. 10 million don't have access to adequate sanitation, and over 1,700 children die every year from diarrhoea caused by unsafe water and poor sanitation. Most of the population live in rural Malawi. This is about 90%. 9.8% of the population have access to electricity. So the rest, pretty much, the 90% that live in rural Malawi don't. Life expectancy in Malawi is just 55 years. 10.3% of adults are living with HIV/AIDS. In 2013, 790,000 children were orphaned by AIDS. There are 1.2 million children orphaned in Malawi. So, my very first experience in 2009, I didn't know what to expect at all. I remember myself with a bunch of teachers. We got in one of these four-wheel drives and we went along this dirt track for an hour, and we arrived in this school called Chimwankuku. Along the journey, we were all moaning, as teachers do, moaning about class sizes, moaning about equipment, and moaning about everything. And then we arrived at Chimwankuku, and we were greeted with a sea of smiling faces. We then got to do a tour of the school. Now in Malawi, the way it works is that there's 8 standards, and you have to pass a standard to go into the next standard. We went into standard 1, and I couldn't quite believe what I saw. There was just so many children with one teacher. And I said to her, "How many children are on your register?" She said, 453. I was like, "How do you teach?" She said, "Well, it takes me all morning to do the register." I could not believe it. Now, the numbers did peter out because you have to pass a standard to go to the next level. By the time you get to standard 5, you average on around 100 children. I taught a lesson in standard 7, and there was a row of children at the back, and they were all sharing one pencil, and they were all desperate to learn. That experience humbled me. I was just like, wow, children who want to learn, who are excited about education, and despite such difficulties and struggles, a group of people that were hopeful. Now, I had this great idea of asking my head teacher if I could go back for a term. And I remember coming back going, "Oh, Mrs. Denby, I've just had such a fantastic time. Can I go for a term?" And I remember her face, she looked at me and smiled. I went, "Yeah." And then it dropped and it became really stern. And she said, "After Ofsted." And I had to wait a term. But whilst I was waiting for Ofsted, which did go very well, luckily, I knew the best thing I could do when I went out to Malawi was to do some fundraising. Before I went last time, I really didn't know what to expect at all, and I went empty-handed. So whilst I was sort of waiting for Ofsted and doing that, we did some fundraising. I then went back in 2010, and I went to a school called Chikali Primary School. There I am, teaching in a classroom. This was the next classroom, which wasn't a classroom at all, it was a derelict building. And then, at Chikali Primary School, there were 2 classes of children that didn't even have a classroom. They learn under a tree, which could be quite nice, but of course when it rains, everyone just goes home. Now, with the fundraising that had been done, I spoke to the school and I said, what would you like with this fundraising? And of course, they said a school block. So, we built a school block. Now, when I was there for a term that we were building, we got to the point of the roof and we ran out of money. And I was thinking, what am I going to do? And thanks to social media, I put out a little shout And I explained, I'd been writing a blog at the time, and I said, look, we need about £1,000 to complete the roof. And I put out this shout on Facebook, and overnight, friends and family had raised £1,000. It was incredible. And I remember thinking, this is amazing. You know what? People are quite nice, really, aren't they? And what a difference had been made. That was my last day in Malawi. I'd been there for a term, and I was walking in Longway, and something happened that actually has changed my life. I was walking along, and there was like this young boy in front of me, and there was 2 other 18-year-old boys, and they had him in a headlock, and they were like beating him up. And like being a teacher, you kind of think that, you know, you're a bit nosy sometimes. You start telling children off all the time. And I was like, I'm not having that. So I told off these older boys. I was like, get off him. And they looked at me like, why do you care? And I was like, look, I couldn't see his parents. So I thought, I care, you know, because I do, because you're hurting him. And the look in his eyes of this little boy, it was so sad. They did get off him. But as I went to walk away, I looked behind me and they were going back in to hit him again. And he clearly looked quite desperate. So I said to this boy, do you want to come and get some food? And he did. And that was Dowd. Now Dowd is 13, and he'd been homeless for about 1.5 years, and he's HIV positive, and he was desperate. He was desperate to go into a safe home. That day, I phoned contacts, phoned different people I know, and we got him into a safe home. But meeting Dowd made me consider all the other children like him who I'd seen in Malawi who were really slipping through the net. Now, disadvantaged children like this, they will survive, but they won't survive very well. You see posters like this all the time in Malawi. Let's stand up, you know, for malnutrition. And that's one of the things that really does affect these children. Now, I've been there for quite a while, so I've got to know quite a few people. Meeting Dowd and that experience, it did something to me, it moved something in me. I don't know what, but it did. Seeing what people had done, you know, with the roof of the school, having that experience made me think, you know what, we can make a difference. And so I spoke to this lady here, Mercy. Mercy runs a girls' orphanage called Dilendra. Dilendra is a charity funded by the Porford family. And I was like, Mercy, what have we got for the boys? And there wasn't anything. And I said, look, I can't promise anything, but if I go back to the UK and I share the story, if I was to come back with some money, do you think it would be a good idea to try and do something similar for local boys in that position? And she replied to me, yes, and I have just the person who would like to help. And she introduced me to Martha. Now, Martha is a widow, and she's raised 4 of her own boys. And she said, I think I'd be a really good person to do this, because I've got experience with boys, and I'm at that point in my life where I want to give something, but I'm struggling. And I raised some money. I was hoping to raise, I raised a few £1,000s, so I took the flight back to Malawi, and I spoke to Martha and Mercy, and I was like, oh, I'm really sorry, I fundraised, but it's just not enough to build an orphanage. And they looked at me, and they said, Katie, don't worry, we've been talking. And I was like, all right, we've decided that 30 boys together, very troublesome, we've got another solution. I said, oh, right. They said, we want to start straight away. So we've decided the best way to start helping some of the local boys in need is to look after them in our homes. I went, oh yeah, foster care. And they looked at me and was like, I don't know what foster care is, but yeah, if you want. So we started in Martha's house. Now, Martha's house, to our standards, it doesn't really look like much, does it? But the children that were introduced into our house, the children who had nothing, it was everything. This is Vincent. The first time he'd ever slept on a bed. He was delighted, absolutely delighted. And this is Kundwari. The first time he'd ever slept on the bed. So, so happy. Martha, straight away, when we welcomed our first 4 children, set about in her role as foster mother. And it was clear to me, just to see how good she was at her role. This is a little video. It was a little video. Now, it was at this point that the Rotary Club connections began. I came back to the UK after that visit. But prior to that, in Malawi, I actually had another Rotary Club connection, sorry. I was introduced to the Lilongwe Rotary Club. And it was there that I met somebody called Sharish. Sharish is standing next to me on the left. Now, Sharish since has been very involved with the charity. He helps me on a monthly basis. He visits the ladies and he helps me with their budget. He also gives me vital information. For example, yesterday I had contact with Sharish and he told me that the Malawian, every month the Malawian kwacha fluctuates, and he said this month the Malawian kwacha had gone from 990 last month to the pound to this month 940. And I said, have the prices changed? Because often they go up and down, and he went, no, it's just Brexit. So this month our budget is more expensive than usual. Thank you very much, Brexit. Okay, so that connection with the Lilongwe Rotary Club has been really, really important. But when I came back to the UK, I made another really important connection. I was introduced to WheresMolly Rotary Club. They went on to adopt me. I'm now an honorary Rotarian there. And that first visit, when I did my presentation, I got greeted with so much warmth and confidence and so much backing. They gave me the belief and the confidence that what I was trying to do was a good thing and that I should go forward with it. Since that date, we meet regularly and they really can't explain how much they've helped. So in 2012 to 2013, I went back to Malawi. And it was lovely to see. All the boys were really, really happy. But it wasn't just the boys that were happy. Martha was glowing. She was absolutely glowing in her role of foster mother. Mrs. Vincent, very proudly holding up the certificate to say that he passed standard 1 in school. Kundwani, washing, all of them doing their chores. Mrs. Aaron, he's preparing the maize, getting the flour ready for the maize. And this is Lupia. I don't know if you can see what Lupia's doing. Putting charcoal into the iron. Now, this time, I've done some fundraising, as usual, and we decided with the fundraising, we'd build a boys' quarter, because it doesn't cost very much, and that way, within Martha's plot, we could look after 8 children, 8 boys. The reason it's boys is because Dilendra was right next door looking after the girls. Okay. So we set about building. There's the boys' quarter when it was nearly complete, and there's the finished boys' quarter. Now, I remember thinking, this is fantastic. This is really cost-effective, and this is really, really, really working. And I was there one day, and we'd spoken to the children and said, what would you like in your bedroom? Because we're developing. And they said, we would like to paint a tree and a rainbow. And so we did the tree and the rainbow with them, and just at the point of finishing off, the children came in really excitedly and they said, we've got a song that we want to sing about a rainbow, and this is why we want the rainbow. So this is a video. wonderful to see in front of my own eyes. I felt so privileged to see this difference. Martha was now caring for 8 children within the home, and it was working really, really, really well. It was so visible how happy, healthy, and full of self-esteem the boys were. Now, from this date to now, in 2016, we now have 3 foster care homes caring for 18 children. Here's Martha with her team, Gertrude and Bertha. Martha is our lead foster mother. She's trained Gertrude and Bertha, and they meet together all the time. They meet on a monthly basis to get the budget and to do the shopping, but they also bring all the children together every week on a Sunday. So who are our children? We now have children referred to us from different places. They all come with different baggage from different backgrounds. This little boy, Kundwani, was referred to us by the chief of one of the villages. He didn't have any mum or dad or grandma. He had a granddad, but he was sick. Now, Kundwani, they felt, was really slipping through the net and was really sort of open to exploitation. This is him now. This is Matteo with his grandma. Now, our ladies go out and they do village outreach often. Now, we met this Agogo a few years ago, and she was looking after Matteo on her own. She has 5 children. All of them had died. All of them. Now, what we did for 2 years is that we took a package for her every single month. And we said, at the point where she feels she can't cope anymore, one of our foster ladies will look after Matteo. Now, it was only 2 weeks ago that I had contact to say that Matteo was now coming to live with us. And this is Matteo now. So Matteo is now with us in Bertha's house, and he's also been reunited with his brother Innocent. Now, their grandma, she's very old and very sick. She does still live, but the lovely thing is that they do still have contact with each other. When I was there last November, we had another referral from a lady called Mrs. Tembe. Now, Mrs. Tembe lived in a neighbouring town, and she came to the ladies because they've got to know about what the charity does, and she said, right, there's a family of children who are living in a derelict house. They've got nobody caring for them. As villagers, we're trying to help. But to be honest, we're struggling. And also, they're making a little bit of a nuisance of themselves. They are begging and they are stealing. Do you think you'd be able to help? So we did a visit. We met Gavizan and his brothers. This is where he'd been sleeping on his own for a couple of years, actually. And he's now living with us and really, really happy. Our ethos as a charity, the thing that we believe in more than anything else, is education. When the children come to live with us, we push education more than anything else. We say, you've got to go to school. And sometimes, I have reports from Martha, that sometimes some of the children don't want to go to school. Especially in the beginning. They run away, and then the mums take them back, and then they get really, really into it, because obviously they haven't been to school always before. We've now got 3 children in secondary school, and those children are part of 10% of the population that actually get to go to secondary school. So that is one of the biggest differences that we're making. Education, nutrition, healthcare, sorry, this is all the children now visiting the dentist. A healthy diet, and the most important thing that we offer as a charity is a loving family. A family perhaps that they may have missed before. Sustainability. Well, it was a couple of years ago that actually Graham Spearing applied for a grant for me from the International Rotary Club. And we used it to develop sustainability amongst our homes. When we were there, we built chicken pens, vegetable patches, pigsties, and the mothers went on training courses. Now, we really believe in trying to help the homes to become sustainable for 2 reasons. 1, to help reduce the cost, but 2, also to teach our children about how later in life they can survive and have businesses. Not only as a charity do we foster the most needy and vulnerable children, we also do regular village outreach. Now, that came about quite a few years ago when Martha said to me, She's like, look, Katie, it's not just the young people that are suffering here. And I was like, what? She said, yeah, the old people in the villages, young people have lost their mums and dads, but the old people in the villages have lost their children. She said some of them are sleeping under maize sacks at night time. And some of them, they haven't even got, some of them, her words were, die from hunger-related diseases. So we started doing regular village outreach. And this was really, really important. Last January there was the Malawian floods. Well, everyone was affected. So our ladies often go out and they know who the families are. We support 3 villages and they help with like maize and staple. Our future as a charity. My aim really is to continue to maintain our strong relationship with local villages, extending our outreach programme, ensuring that support is given to those most in need. There are a lot of orphans in Malawi, but a lot are looked after by extended families. The ones that we aim to help are the ones that are the most vulnerable and the most disadvantaged. We want to extend our foster care programme, providing education, healthcare, a nutritious diet and a loving home to the most disadvantaged and vulnerable children in need. Now, since the early days, this charity grew from nothing. Without the Rotary support, it never ever would have been possible. The first meeting I had with West Rural Rotary, that was the meeting that gave me the confidence to say, yeah, this is possible to go forward. Not only the confidence, but I've also received financial backing. Now, this is the date when I received an international grant from a Rotary Club. And there at the cinema, I was lucky enough to meet Wallasey Rotary Club. Now, since then, I've been involved with Wallasey Rotary Club and they've had me back a couple of times and they also provide financial backing. I regularly see the Long Way Rotary Club and this most recently, West Rural Rotary Club. Now, the charity, Malawi Foster Care, it was registered as an independent charity in 2014. It's not a charity that is changing the world, but it is a charity, it's small. 100% of donations go to the cause. There is nobody that is paid. What, as a charity, it does, and what I see firsthand, is for the children that come into contact with that charity, their outcomes are changed forever. And you can't put a price on that. And for me, I feel so privileged to be a part of that. And also so honoured that I've had Rotarian backing from day one, really, to the point of where the charity is now. So, finally, I'd like to say, here's our children. A big thank you.
What a wonderful young woman, truly service above self. Thank you, Katie. My next speaker today, I first heard at my own club, Wrexham Yale. He comes from Rotary, where I've lived for the last 45 years, but only got to know him after he spoke at our club. There is no better example of triumph over adversity than this young man in overcoming huge problems in his life as a result of stepping on an IED. He has then gone on to help others. Our country is protected by many young men and women who give everything and expect nothing in return. As we lead up to Remembrance Sunday, please reflect on the members of our armed forces, both past and present, and give them our thanks and respect. Fellow Rotarians, I am very proud and privileged to ask Shaun to address conference.
I was given 2 bits of advice when I first started speaking. One of them was make an entrance, And the other one was picture them in their underwear, so there's 1 out of 2 done. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Shaun, I'm 26 and I'm from Wrexham. I am on the Welsh weightlifting team, hoping to compete in the Commonwealth in 2018. I'm an ambassador for the Blind Veterans UK charity, proud father to my little boy Theo, and I've recently got married as well. 10 years ago, I was 15 years old. I was getting ready to leave school and thinking about what I was going to do with the rest of my life. My older brother had been sent to the Army Cadets at a younger age for being a bit mischievous. I was probably following in his footsteps. So I decided that I wanted to join the British Army. My brother had done so a few years prior to me, and he joined the Royal Welsh Fusiliers. It's a bit of a family regiment. My great-granddad also served with them in the First World War. And listening to the young girls from Youth Speaks, I was one of these teenagers that couldn't write a sentence without putting numbers in, so I didn't really have many options. So I was a practical person. Whatever I put my mind to, I knew I could achieve, and it was the perfect job for me. So as soon as I was old enough, 16 years old, I then signed on the dotted line, ready to join my battalion, who were based out in Cyprus at the time. In the words of David Clark, being a teenager and being away from your family was amazing. Getting based out in Cyprus after a year's training, ready to do my role as an infantry, fight on the front line for the conflict that was going on at the time, which was Afghanistan. We heard in the news every day that people were losing their lives, and I felt like I was doing a great cause, as well as these people, as these people had done before me. Joined my battalion, 17 years old. I was too young to go out on tour to Afghanistan, so I spent that year training and getting my qualifications up, ready to go and do a tour in end of 2009. So we were going out and spending Christmas there. We were going out to spend 6 months on tour, returning back in 2010. I'd been out on the ground for 5.5 months at the time. I was a lead man in my section, being 18 years old at the time, and actually spending a few years in the British Army. I was one of the senior lads in my platoon, funny enough. I was a mastiff driver, so we did operations out in vehicles, and as well as that we were doing strike ops, which was basically getting dropped into territories that weren't taken, ready for people to come in and ground hold. So we were going in, taking the ground, coming back, going back out in the vehicles, doing certain different types of operations. And I was out there for 5 months at the time. We were coming back in 3 weeks' time, so I had the idea I was going to come home, teenager, a bit of money in my pocket, get myself a nice car, and carry on my life. And we'd been posted on Operation Mostarak, which was the biggest helicopter drop-in ever for the British Army. And I think there was at least 35 helicopters dropping us in, and this was going to be the biggest helicopter drop-in ever. So we were getting ready, and we were planning to come home at the time. We'd finished our operations, and we were told that the Coldstream Guards were getting overrun, so we had to go back out and do one more op. We hadn't had R&R, because we were only on a 5.5 month tour. We basically had to do 6 months to get R&R, so we were all a bit, bit upset about that. But we cracked on and did our job. 6 days before the end of my tour, I was out 100 meters, I was patrolling outside my patrol base, 100 metres away from the guys, and I stepped on a pressure plate IED, and resulting in me losing both my legs above the knee, and losing my eyesight straight away. I was conscious through the whole thing. My legs were blown off within a second. I fractured and dislocated my left shoulder, lost a couple of fingers. My left eye had gone, my right eye was completely blinded. The strange thing was, I couldn't feel anything. I knew I'd stood on a bomb, and that was all I knew. I was hoping that there was dirt in my eyes, and I was hoping that there was nothing wrong with my legs, because I couldn't feel anything from the hips down. was there listening to one of the guys on the radio, and he said we had a double amputee over the radio, so that was the first time that I knew I'd lost my legs. The next thing I remembered was waking up in Selly Oak Hospital 3 months later after being put into an induced coma to save my life. I was there in hospital. I was placed into a one-handed wheelchair after 3 months in hospital. In my right hand, there was nothing wrong, so I could use this one-handed wheelchair. But imagine, for those of you who aren't in a wheelchair and who haven't lost your eyesight, imagine being a 19-year-old boy in a wheelchair that I didn't even have enough sight to push myself. And that was what I was dealt with. I then went on to Headley Court, which is the rehabilitation centre. Headley Court's a brilliant place. I'm sure you've all heard about it on the news when Afghanistan was going on at the time. There was guys losing their lives and losing limbs left, right and centre. And to be honest with you, it was a remarkable place to be. Some of the camaraderie and banter was still there, so you know, all of these guys, people expected to go to a place that was deeply sad, you know, and such a negative place to be, but it was one of the best times of my life. I've got a fellow member of Blind Veterans friend who was there at the time, Paul Jacobs, who lost his eyesight completely. And Jimmy Carr was coming to the centre one day. There were a lot of celebrities coming there at the time. And my friend Paul, he lost his eyesight completely. And he was there shouting across the room, shouting, "Tax, tax," to Jimmy Carr. And yeah, it wasn't a great joke. And Jimmy Carr, being as quick-witted as he was, came over and he said, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" And Paul was boxing at the time in the corner of the gym, and he's like, "I'm boxing. And why are you here? I'm blind." And Jimmy Carr goes, "Well, you should go home, you're cured." And Paul said, "Why?" He goes, "Because you don't have to look at your ginger head in the mirror anymore." This was the situation we were in. We were all soldiers, we all had a good laugh. I was told to go into the women's changing rooms a few times, you know, until I figured out that I shouldn't be in there. But yeah, we used to play a lot of jokes and a lot of tricks on each other. But this amazing place was where I learned that it doesn't matter what has happened to you, you can go on and do great things. Some of these lads have been there a couple of years before me, and to be able to know that these guys were walking around with prosthetic limbs and living functional lives and doing great things with their lives, it's great to know, because you're going to be there one day. And the biggest thing that I've had to overcome in my journey was having to learn to walk on prosthetics with the eyesight injuries I had. By this point I'd had about 5 operations on my right eye, so I've gained around about 30%, which I'm really thankful for. And when you've lost everything and gained a little bit back, it's the most amazing thing ever. So my next journey was to learn to walk on prosthetics, and I've been told that no one had ever done it before because it was a bit dangerous, and with the amount of amputation I had, it was really quite hard. So me, my physios and OTs and everyone there who dedicated so much time to help me learn how to do it, you know, I'm very grateful for. There was a hill at the back of one of the centres where my physio made me walk down it at least 1,000, 2,000 times, and sometimes I'd be crying at him saying that I couldn't do it. But I'd learned how to walk on them with no eyesight, well, a little bit of eyesight, which was after a few operations, and I decided that I would walk 100 kilometres for the charity Blind Veterans UK. Up until this point, I thought I'd never be able to do it, but I decided, like David Clark again, you know, he didn't run a marathon. He said he did a marathon, you know, 1 mile at a time. 20. What was it, David? Yeah. Yeah, and so that was what I decided to do, and I would walk the 100k, but in sections, so that I knew that I was able to complete it. It's brilliant. I spent the last 2 years waiting for planning permission on my business, on the building development that I was doing, and I set up a property development business, and so I was waiting for that time, and I thought that I would give some money back and raise awareness for this brilliant charity that would help me out. I did the 117 kilometre walk. I added 17 on just for fun, and I've raised just shy of £50,000. just the money that you're raising, you know, it's the awareness that you're raising for the charity, and since I set out, hundreds of thousands of people now know about the charity that they wouldn't have done beforehand. And if anybody here has a member who was part of the armed forces who is suffering with an eyesight problem, you know, just remember the charity's there to help these people. Another good thing was the Christmas appeal, which my story was used. It also raised over £1 million, so I'm very proud of that as well. But the greatest thing I could take away from all of this was the satisfaction you get from doing something great with your life and not wasting your time. And that was the situation I had to deal with when I was first injured. I could have gone two ways. The easy way was to give up and to, you know, fall in a hole and never do anything again. But I realised I've been given a lot of time to use that and give something back to this charity. That helped me out so much with my business and other aspects of my life. During Headley Court, I started weight training, and because I was in this category where I couldn't really do blind sports because I'd lost my limbs, and I couldn't really do wheelchair sports because my eyesight wasn't very good. So I didn't realise it was staring me in the face, and after I finished my walk, I was introduced to the Welsh weightlifting team, and now I'm training for the Commonwealth, which is I'm dedicated to a lot of the time, and you know, I spend so much of my life trying to achieve things and do great in it. During my time in Headley Court, me and my partner decided to go through IVF treatment. I was told that I couldn't have kids naturally after my blast injury, and to be honest with you, the idea of me having kids was probably way back in my mind, while I had so much to deal with. But we had our little boy Christmas Day last year. IVF worked first time, and I'm so chuffed and so pleased that we've had him. Some of the lessons that I've learned over the past few years is that one of them is there's nothing that I can't do, I just do it differently now. See, stairs are my enemy, but you know, if I can get up on the stage, I will. You know, and a lot of people get stuck in the mindset that they can't do something. Just because you do it differently doesn't mean you can't do it greatly. And now everything that I put my mind to, I know I can do it greatly. And I thank the charity again for some of the great things that they've done to me. And if anybody here would like to help me raise that £50,000 that I've set out to do, then I'll greatly appreciate it and come speak to me after. Last thing, I'd like to say thank you for the Wrexham Rotary clubs. I think I've spoken to all 4 of them, and for nominating me to come and speak today. Some of the work that you do, and it's an honour to be stood up on this stage speaking with the likes of David and the young girls, and also the lady from the Malawi project. It's an amazing thing, and I will be donating to you after this. Yeah, that's my talk today, and thank you very much for everything you've done.
Thank you very much once again, Shaun. That really was inspiring. I'm now delighted to ask my dear friend, Rotary International representative of Germ, past District Governor Dilendra Shrestha, to come and give us his summing up of conference. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. This morning we talked a lot about service. It reminded me of a short story that a gentleman, he was having his mechanical workshop on the ground floor, and he was living just upstairs in the first floor. Somebody invited him to become a Rotarian, and he joined the Rotary Club. So later, his friends went to his house. He had shifted his workshop upstairs and living on the ground floor. When somebody asked me why is it, and he said, service above self. Rotary International President's representative are supposed to motivate, inspire the Rotarians in the district. But I don't know what I will be saying to Rotary International President Germ if he asks, what did you do? I think I'm going to say, but I don't know what he will think of this. I'm going to say, I am inspired, I am motivated, rather than I motivated the Rotarians in District 1180. I am a restaurateur by profession. When guests come to my restaurant and eat something, I never ask how good was the food. I just look at the plates. If the plate is empty, yes, either this person is very hungry or the food was very good. Normally in trainings and other programs in Rotary, I look at the people at the last session. If the hall is still full, then yes, the program was very, very successful, very interesting, and it was really motivating and inspiring. So I think you also agree with me. Rotary International back in 2010 added one more avenue. That time they called it New Generation Avenue. But later it has been changed to Youth Service Avenue in 2013, Council and Legislation. Now we understand why this youth service has been added as the fifth avenue of service to Rotary. This morning also we talked about growth of membership. And if you look at average age of Rotarians around the globe, it is not less than 55 years. Not less than 55 years. Now bringing new blood into Rotary, of course you have to encourage younger Rotarians, younger people to come into Rotary. And I was very much impressed to see that how much you have focused on new generation. Rotractors, of course you have all these competitions, young chefs, young poets, young musicians. And of course we have witnessed the very motivating and very good speakers from the new generation. And this is what the main thing I am taking from this conference, that you have involved yourself in encouraging young people and the youths in Rotary. The only thing I was surprised to know that you have only 2 Rotary clubs in the district. During my training assembly in 2013, in the International Assembly in San Diego, I came across many other district governors elect, and surprisingly in this part of the world, you have very few Rotary clubs. Whereas if you ask in my district, we have equal number of Rotary clubs as we have Rotary clubs. It is more than 100 Rotary clubs we have in our district. The thing I realize is, maybe you have your Rotary clubs university-based. But I want to ask your district Rotary representative, please try that in the community. Try to make community-based Rotary clubs and see the result. And if you are successful in having at least 10 new Rotary clubs by the end of this year, please don't forget to send me an email. Of course, I'm very much thankful to the organizing committee that you have invited very eminent non-Rotarian speakers. They are really very much inspiring, very much motivational. And of course, this is what we look for in Rotary. Involve as many non-Rotarians as possible in your Rotary programs, so that they will come to know about Rotary, and of course, we also come to know what people are doing in the community, so that we can also join hands with them to serve the community. With this, let me tell you a short story. I was told that the time is running out, but still, Rotary gives us an opportunity. If you have heard of the library, the big library in Alexandria, it was on fire and totally the library was destroyed. And suddenly a guy was just walking, this elderly person. He was walking across and he found a half-burnt book. He just picked that up and went back home and was turning the pages. He found nothing of his interest and he just threw it. And suddenly a piece of paper came out of that book and he just, by curiosity, looked at the paper. It was written in, there are plenty of stones, pebbles, but there is one stone that is known as touchstone. And this touchstone, the quality, the speciality of this touchstone, whatever you touch with this stone becomes gold. And it was also written in that paper, small piece of paper, that how do you identify that stone? The stone, the touchstone, is little warmer than any other stones there. And this guy had nothing to do and he went to the sea beach and looking for that touchstone. He picked up one and it was not warm, just threw it away again. And suddenly he realized that what he was doing, that picking up the stone and putting it back at the same place. But plenty of stones then, okay, he realized, okay, what I do, I just throw it in the water. He picked up a stone, it was not warm, threw it in the sea, into the water. And day went by and weeks passed by, months, but this guy, nothing to do. Every day, he has made it his habit that he goes to the seashore, to the sea beach, and picks up the stone and throws it into the water. Every day he does that and it has become his habit, and suddenly one fine evening he just picked up a stone and threw it into water. Then he realized that, oh, it was warm. But unfortunately, it was already in the water, in the sea. Now, this guy lost that opportunity because he had made it a habit to pick up the stone and throw it into the water. Friends, we also have made habits to lose opportunities. And Rotary has given you a bigger opportunity, a larger opportunity to serve the community, and this is the time. Don't lose the opportunity. And I congratulate you all once again for this successful, that's what I say, very, very successful conference. And I take back home many good things from this conference, like the event you had last night. It was really wonderful. Of course, maybe some of you are a little bit late this morning to come to this hall. But still, Rotary, I always say that, has two legs. One is fellowship, and another is service. Both is equally important, and you have both of them. Congratulations once again, and before I leave this podium, let me express my gratitude to Governor Molly and many other friends who have made our stay here very comfortable. And of course, before coming to next term also we had some problem with visa. And the friends from Rotary District 1180, they helped us a lot. And finally, we got this opportunity to be with you during this conference. Thank you very much, and allow me to present some token of love. First to Molly, and for this, may I ask my wife Bhavani also to come in the stage. No, Molly is very good friend of my home club, Rotary Club of Yellow. I mean, Yellow and Yellow, it's very much similar in pronouncing. And my club has sent a small gift to Molly. And I know Molly is very familiar with this. May I also ask Rez to come up to the stage? And I want Rez to open this and show it to you what it is. I think David knows it very well. Yesterday he was telling me of something and I said, I have that.
Open it. Yeah. Yes.
That's a cookery.
It's a rum in a bottle, a cookery set bottle. And this was introduced during the coronation of our late king. It was back in 1972, I think.
Thank you.
So another small token of love to Molly from myself and of course from my wife. May I ask the conference chair, Steve, and Maria to come to this table. May I also have this opportunity to ask Beryl and Tony to come over to the stage. District Governor-elect Beryl, Carol, and Tony.
What photographs of it all day?
You have this morning?
And how can I forget? Of course, he is in Rotary was said an aide to Rotary International President Representative, and he took all the troubles to pick me up from the airport. Is none other than Manojit Lord. And for your kind information, today is his birthday. Happy birthday to Manojit and big you come to the children, God bless you. To you.
Come on, guys. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Manchester. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much.
How lovely was that? I have just a few more announcements, but I've lost my glasses, so no, these are Maria's. That's fine. Badges at the end of, I've lost my badges off. Badges at the end of the day, there are buckets here outside by the door and one in the main hotel. Can we please put them back in the buckets because we need them for next year because that's part of our budget. So we need them back, please. We've had the Nepal stall has thanked us very much for our generosity. We've raised over £300 there, or they have rather, so well done there. Molly has asked me to thank lots of people from around the world. After all, this is Rotary International, but I've lost my list, so we'll come back to that later. But I have to say, members of District 4720 in the Amazon, Brazil, are watching this conference live as we speak, and they wish us all very, very well, especially to you too, Molly. So thanks for your I'd now like to invite Andrew to the stage, please, because Andrew is our conference chair for next year.
So, I'm Andrew Errington, past president of Sorgal, and for my sins, the chair for Beryl's conference next year. I'm here to actually tell you about 3 conferences, but before I do that, I think I'd like to take the opportunity to give a vote of thanks to Molly and Steve and her team. I think it's been a great day. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. Can you really put your hands together, please, and show your appreciation? So, as conference chair for 2017, it is my pleasure to inform you first of all about the RIBI conference, which is in Manchester on the 7th, 8th and 9th of April next year. And I think RIBI President Eve Conway says it all in a short video. A warmer welcome awaits all Rotarians in Manchester.
Welcome to Manchester, where the Rotary International in Great Britain and Ireland Conference will be held in April 2017, here at the state-of-the-art venue, Manchester Central. And I have some breaking news for you about the conference. Catherine Jenkins has agreed to perform exclusively at our Rotary Conference for our Saturday night concert. And Catherine Jenkins will be performing here at the Bridgewater Hall with a Manchester Camerata, an orchestra with a difference, who are going out of their way to help the local community. And you'll be finding out more about what they've been doing. The Bridgewater Hall is just a stone's throw from Manchester Central, our conference venue. And we already have a great lineup of speakers.
Polio's in the house.
We'll be joined by Paralympian and broadcaster Ade Adepitan, a polio survivor who was born in Nigeria.
Like, I've got bony knees. We have got any more bony knees. This guy's knees is scraping on the concrete, man. It's so painful. Maybe I'm just a wuss.
We'll be celebrating the centenary of our Rotary Foundation and the fantastic success of Rotary's End Polio Now campaign. And we're delighted that Rotary International President for 2016-17, John Germ, and his wife Judy will be with us.
And you're fairly new to Rotary, is that true?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been in the organization?
For just a year.
From Michigan, motivational speaker and Rotarian Michelangelo Caruso will be taking time out from his busy duties as district governor to give his unique take on presentation skills.
We'll try to get that to roll off the tongue a little bit.
CJ and Becky, very well deserved award. Thank you very much for joining us in BBC News and congratulations to both of you.
We'll be marking the 10th anniversary of the Rotary Young Citizen Awards, so expect some surprises as we see what has happened to some of the winners from the past decade, as well as the winners for 2017, with presenters Ellie Crisell and Connie Huck. It's just a short walk across the square from Manchester Central to our conference hotel, the 4-star Midland Hotel, where royals famously met Royce. In fact, there is no more than 250 yards to walk from one venue to another for the conference. Here at Manchester Town Hall in Albert Square, one of the most iconic landmarks in the city, we'll be holding a special drinks reception on Friday evening for delegates. Regarded as one of the finest examples of neo-Gothic architecture in the UK, it's one of the most important Grade 1 listed buildings in England. The main part of the drinks reception will be held here in the Great Hall, where 12 murals by Ford Madox Brown depict key moments in the history of Manchester. So join Robert and I here in vibrant Manchester from 7th to 9th April 2017. We're going to have a fabulous time.
Conference of the season, the RIBI Conference, Manchester 7th, 8th, 9th of April. Now, if you're feeling like a trip to America, then you may wish to register for the Rotary International Convention, which will be held in Atlanta. If you've not yet registered, you may wish to consider doing so before December, as prices go up. RI President John Germ and his team are looking forward to welcoming delegates to Atlanta from June the 10th to the 14th next year. A special convention to celebrate the Foundation centenary.
The 2017 Rotary National Convention in Atlanta will be extra special. The Rotary Foundation will celebrate 100 years of doing good in the world, in the city where it all began. This is our time to come together to mark this important milestone. So please join Judy and me for the biggest party of the Rotary year.
Hello, I'm Mayor Kasim Reed, and I invite Rotary members from around the world to the city of Atlanta for the 2017 Rotary Convention. Atlanta is known as the City of Peace, home to 2 centers honoring Nobel Peace Prize recipients, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Jimmy Carter. I'm certain this convention will be memorable, and I encourage you to take advantage of all the City of Atlanta has to offer.
On behalf of the state of Georgia, we'd like to welcome you to the Gateway to the South. Discover our historic architecture. Experience the wonder of the Appalachian Trail. Take in the beauty of our beaches or take on some of the best golf courses in the world. Be charmed by the people and the magic of the South. Wherever you go, we welcome you. We're glad Georgia is on your mind.
Please join Judy and me at the 2017 Rotary International Convention in Atlanta. What better way to celebrate the centennial of the Rotary Foundation than for Rotarians to come together from every Rotary club in the world.
We've made so many new friends and learned about their projects and how we might be able to collaborate. It's just been fabulous.
I make my holiday once every year, and Rotary gives me the opportunity to visit different parts of the world.
It's amazing to see all the countries that are represented here.
See you in Atlanta.
Okay, and then on to the third conference of the year, and this is the t-shirt. This is next year's conference t-shirt with the theme of Make a Difference, Inspire the Future. It's the 2017 District Conference for Beryl, the new DG, is going to be held at the Lion Keys Hotel in Oswestry. And it's going to be on the weekend of the 3rd, 4th and 5th of November. District Governor-elect Beryl and our conference team are planning an interesting and entertaining conference for you. We're calling it the Big Rotary Weekend. We want you to block out the whole weekend because there's lots of stuff going on, very interesting, for partners as well, I have to say, as you will see. We don't think that District 1180 has ventured into Oswestry before for a conference, so please do make a difference and inspire the future. And just before the video comes on, we'll be giving out flyers as you leave today, as you leave the door, and you can put the date in your diary. Registration will start in January.
to the stage, please.
It's trophy time. Now then, unfortunately, the first trophy to be awarded today hasn't been returned. But we have been given a very sincere apology and it will be on its way, so I will present it at a later date. But the winners of the New Centurion Youth Trophy this year is going to the Ryla Committee. So is there anybody here that was involved in Ryla this year? I think Merrick's here somewhere. And the next trophy is the Wallasey Cup, which is for the best club project. And that goes to Towing for Race the Train. And now the Llangollen Community Cup for the best community project goes to Wallasey.